No, there's something not right.
Well,
This meeting has been recorded.
You're
Yeah,
coming
not
through
it.
okay, Melvyn.
You're coming through perfect.
I can't see anything here.
We can see you perfect.
Right, okay. Now then.
You're trying to switch cameras here.
Yeah. And I should have something that says screen.
So go see down the bottom left-hand side, it says video.
Just bear with me, Derek.
Yeah.
OBS Studio.
On the bottom of your screen, on the left-hand side, it says mute and stop video. There's a little arrow there. If you click on that little arrow, you should be able to swap cameras.
Say that again, Derek.
If you go to the bottom of your screen,
Yeah.
see, there's a mute button and there's a stop video button. Well, right next to that is a little arrow. If you click on that, you should be able to select your camera.
Oh, come on.
You froze now, Melvyn.
Pardon?
You froze.
It's disabled the screen sharing again. Right, I'm going to start it all up again, Derek.
Okay, mate.
Okay.
If you, I'll put you in the waiting room again.
No, don't do anything. Just.
Oh, we're waiting. Derek, how's your leg?
Oh, a lot better, thanks, Phil. I can walk on it now.
That's all right.
Hi, Alan.
Alan,
Hiya. Hey, mate.
Come on, get there.
where's Melvyn gone? He's disappeared. Let's stop the recording. Oh, here he comes. Here we are.
Derek,
Yeah.
it's still telling me that the screen share is disabled.
Well, there's no point me clicking on screen share because it won't do anything. All you'll get is my screen.
I ran it through earlier with the wife and it worked perfectly well.
Hang on, I'll try sharing it again then. Multiple. There we go. Is that any good?
Right, okay.
No, nothing there, Melvyn.
No, just bear with me, you're right now.
Now we got a picture on the screen, Melvyn.
Right, is it a picture of a fly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a picture of me? Is there a picture of me up there?
Just a fly.
I can see you now.
Unless you look like a fly.
You just switched the screen. Now there's the fly.
Right, you can see my face now,
Yeah,
and you can see the vice now.
yeah,
Right, well, we can go with that, can't we?
yeah, let's go with that.
Woo!
Melvin, what you'll have to do though, probably if somebody else comes in the waiting room, you'll have to let them in.
Right, okay. Okay, right.
Nice to see you again.
And nice to see you all.
Hi, Melvin, all right, mate?
Yeah. Right, go on. Is there any, you want me to say, or?
No, you carry on, do whatever you want to do, mate.
Well, I've got another 8 flies for you.
Lovely.
And I've just had them on in Ireland. So I was tying flies at the south of Ireland angling show down in Waterford, and we decided that we'd start down there and work ourselves along the bottom of Ireland, and then up the west coast, following the Mayfly up. And I caught some really nice fish. I mean, in difficult conditions as well. So it was all good. I'll show you some of the flies that we'll be using, but we'll be tying. Take that one out because, well, open my shirt so you can see blue. Might be better.
Yeah, perfect.
Right. So the number 1 fly, where it took an awful lot of fish. In fact, the majority of the fish. Well, that fella.
Mayfly.
It's just a bog standard green mayfly, and it really did, and it weren't just on one loch or a couple of lochs, it were quite a few. Yeah, and this took quite a few olive feeders.
Well, that's a nice little fly.
Yeah, I mean, it's on a 14 grub hook, and basically it's Bob Wyatt's DHE with the green butt, and for the rainbows, Carixia feeders, it takes fish feeding on Carixia. It's quite a fly, really. But I have a special way of tying it. I can knock these off really quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, so that'll be nice for you to see. And this fella, is my go-to fly when they're on the dries, when the mayfly feeders are on the dries, and it's a little bit different to a sparkledom in that I've got a bit of a tail as well. So as the fish are looking up, they see the shuck, and the last thing that comes out is the shuck. Sorry, of the shuck is the tail. So they've got that little bit in there as a trigger. But that's basically a large sparkledom. Now, I tie these in various colours of various shades of olive, right from a pale olive right to a yellow, yellow golden olive. So that'll be nice for you to see tied. This one, I was fishing with Jackie Mahon. Does anybody know Jackie Mahon and his flies?
I've heard of his flies, yeah.
He's quite a famous fly fishing guide in Ireland, is Jackie, and he's one hell of a fly tyer. And this is what I call Melvin's mayfly, but I've put a wing in it to keep it up in the water, so it makes quite a commotion when you're dragging it back. Very similar to a muddler or a sedgehog. Sedgehogs at mayfly time don't really work, but this fella certainly did. It didn't catch a lot of fish, but the middle dropper did. So I've got this on top dropper and a couple of flies behind it. So and really, wet fly fishing to me is making all that commotion. You get the fish looking at your flies. So that's another one I'd like to show you. And for the olives, that fella, which is a cock robin variant. First fish I ever caught in Ireland was on a cock robin, so it's got a special place. And another, well, I had 7 fish off Loch Corrib one afternoon with this fella in very windy conditions, and that's Cattle Rush's dark olive, but another cracking fly. This was on the middle dropper, and I was bringing the top dropper, just throwing it out to the side of the boat in quite a wind, lifting the rod, and it was dapping my big mayfly. And as it was coming round, they were coming off the mayfly, they were attracted to the top dropper and then turning down on this fella. That's quite an unusual. I'll tell you what I noticed this time when I was fishing in Ireland, the amount of fluorescence that they're using. Not only on Loch Melvyn, everywhere else. You know, Melvyn were noted for using fluorescent flies. I mean, one particular was Stan Headley's octopus. You know, but looking in, I fished with another chap, another fishing guy called Dominic McCorrigan, sorry, and you opened his fly boxes and you needed your sunglasses. And he's a big competition angler. So that surprised me. And the other thing that surprised me was them fishing with nymphs. You never used to see an Irishman fishing with nymphs. They fish them all the time now. And not in the mayfly, they were using big mayfly nymphs. In fact, I caught a fish on sheeling. We talked to about 40 anglers when we got back in, and we were the only ones that had caught a fish. And it were caught on a nymphing. Yeah. But do you really want to go to Ireland to nymph fish? Don't think so. Anyway, this is the Melvyn octopus variant, in that I haven't tied this one with the golden pheasant rump feather. I've tied it with Mallard flank dyed yellow. So that'll be a nice one to show you, because I tie it over the front, the wing over the front, and then brush it back and tie it in. So it gets that, it's got that movement there. The wings set up a little bit different. And last and not least, I mean, this was my favorite brown trout fly at one point. That's the Irishman's Mallard and Claret. It's a little bit different in that I've put a pearly rib in it, and it's mirage tinsel that I've twisted. Okay.
Yeah.
So I hope that will satisfy you. If there's anything that you want to know, just stop me, and I'll explain it the best I can. Okay. And I'm back over in Ireland in a week, so that'll be good, because I'm tying at the Antrim Fly Fair. So if anybody's going over, come and show your face. Right, okay. What would you like me to tie first?
Whatever suits you.
Well, we'll tie this fella. Okay. I mean, it's not a difficult one, but it's a good one for me to get into. Right. I've got all my packets, so we're not wasting a lot of time. Does anybody fish in Ireland?
I fished there once when I was poorly. The missus booked me a trip on Mask and Corrib.
Yeah.
And it was bloody hopeless with the bloody, I had one of them drain things on my leg, and you can't wear waders.
No. It certainly, the fishing in Ireland, for me, is a lot more difficult than it is in Scotland. Okay. Oh, the place is just lovely, and the people are lovely. and like I say, I'm going again. I'm tying at the Antrim Fly Fair, and then a week later, I'm tying at the Scottish Game Show at Scone. And I'm going to have 3 or 4 days up in Donegal fishing the bog lakes.
You taking your
Yeah.
motorhome there?
Pardon?
You taking your motorhome across?
Yeah. Might as well. Okay. Back to the rice. That's a tad out of focus, isn't it?
Slightly,
What's,
yeah.
what's the quality like?
That's not too bad. That's okay now.
Right, okay. So I'm using a black thread. And I'm starting about at least about 2.5 millimeters away from the eye. With Irish style flies, there's a lot going on. That was a good start, isn't it?
It happens.
There's a lot going on at the front. Lots of hackles. So always give yourself plenty of room. I don't know many lakes across on mainland that have mayflies in Britain. There's quite a few up north in Scotland, but England, I don't know of many. I mean, even Mallard Town doesn't get mayfly. Right, so we're going down the hook shank in relatively touching turns, and we're coming to that midpoint between the barb and the hook point. That's still out of focus a touch, isn't it?
No, that's okay, that.
Fine by
That's
me.
okay. Right. And we're taking half a dozen fibres from a cock bird centre tail. And we're getting the tips all in line, pulling it out. And the tail wants to be just over the total length of the hook. So around about there. And we're pinching and looping it on. We're not pulling tight because I don't want to splay tails much. Few wraps on. Cut it off at an angle. And then down the hook shank we come. Or up the hook shank we come. And put the rib in now, which is gold, silver, wire, and this is 0.3, 0.03. And I like to keep mine underneath. But however you want to put it in. And we're dubbing it with a grey seal's fur dubbing.
Somebody got a clock ticking away in the background.
Me?
That's yours, is it?
I think so, yeah. Hang on, I'll mute it, hang on. The computer, not the clock.
Right. I'm going to have to disappear for a minute. I'm at Hackle short. And I'm up in the kitchen because we've got the builders in. and they're rewiring my fly tying den. So I'm up in the kitchen. So I'll be 30 seconds.
That's all right. At least that clock stopped.
No, it's still going, tells the right time and all.
All right, I'm back. Were anybody timing me? Right. Let's have a look here. Bit small. Bit big. That'll do the job. Right. I mean, some of the flies on Loch Arrow, fished Loch Arrow a number of years. I love Loch Arrow. And the mayflies on Loch Arrow are something to believe. An imitation would be on a size 10 long shank. They're that big. They're absolutely huge. So it's 2 turns at the front and then back down. Three turns, in with your rib. Up round. And worry that off. And if we're brave, we can snap that off. Okay, right. Cooking on gas now. The most important thing with wet flies and seal's fur is to give it a little bit of a scrub out. That's one of the reasons I like putting wire ribs in, because if you do it with tinsels, it just wrecks them. Okay, let's pull all that lot back, see what we've got. Right. And the hackle at the front, French partridge, dyed olive. And I'm going to tie that in at the tip. And all I do is come in and just nip it there with my hackle pliers and then pull them back. And that's plenty to tie them with. Okay. So in we go. Come down 2 turns. Double it over, back up 2 turns. Snip it off. Has it been hot down your way today?
Yeah.
It's been absolutely wicked here. I think it was still 28 degrees half an hour ago. Right, and then we'll just wind that on the front. Having doubled it, of course. And you're coming back towards the eye. And touching turns. Making sure that feather doesn't twist on you. This thread that I'm using is Semperflies 12 knot. Classic wax thread, and it's absolutely brilliant stuff. The best thread I've ever used.
I just
And it's
ordered a
just-
ruck of it.
Pardon?
I just ordered a ruck of it.
Good man. You won't be disappointed, Derek.
No, it's a good thread.
And there we go.
Very nice. I do love French partridge.
Yeah, yeah. Well, being a shooting man, I get an awful lot of it. So I've got it all sorts of colours.
And what's that called again, Melvin?
It's just a green French partridge.
Green French partridge.
It's in Patsy Dreary's Mayfly book. And that's it. Job done on that one. But yeah, cracking fly. And it really, really worked. It
Is that
really
book,
did.
is that book still available, Melvin?
I'm pretty sure it is.
Any idea
Yeah.
where you get it from?
Cocky Bundu Books will do it.
Will they?
Have a
Yeah,
word with-
yeah, yeah,
have a
yeah.
word with
Absolutely
Paul
sure they'll
Morgan.
do it. Yeah.
Cheers.
I don't think it's out of print. I don't think it's out of print. Yeah.
Tony,
And they're quite easy flies to tie. There's nothing. Sorry. They're easy ties to flies to tie. They're not difficult at all. You know, they're a piece of cake, really, and they look good. They look lovely. They look like a fly should.
Right.
and they
right.
catch fish.
That one does. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Now then, fly boxes. I fish with some top blokes this time. I mean, you know, real good anglers. And you look in the fly box, and I was shaking my head really, because you've got these type of flies with booby eyes and fab arsed and you know, and that's what the competition scene does, isn't it? You know, it's very innovative and what have you. But yeah, it's not the idea of a wet fly for me. But hey ho, yeah, they do work. They wouldn't tie me if they didn't work. It's like the nymphs. I mean, the mayfly nymphs, size 10 long shanks mayfly nymphs, and I caught a fish on Loch Sheeling when nobody else were catching fish on Loch Sheeling. You know, I would have never, if it wasn't for the guy I was with saying, "No, try the nymphs." So I come to Ireland, but like I said, we'd been out all day, and we were. Did you see that video I put on Facebook of the mating dance of the mayfly?
Yeah,
Yeah, there were bloody millions of them. You were breathing them in. There were that many, and it was that day that I caught the fish when nobody else was catching them, and there were all these spent on the water, and not a fish rising to them. I mean, there were millions of them. You wouldn't have believed how many flies were on that water, and you never heard a fish sucking them down. No. So they've probably been full from feeding on the nymphs, you know, in the afternoon. Yeah. So the fishing's certainly changing in Ireland. Certainly changing. Right. Okay. Shall we do? Done that, fella. How about Cathal Rush's Dark Olive? This is another good fly.
yeah.
I wouldn't go brown trout fishing without this one. You know, probably 10 years ago now, my best lock fly for brown trout.
If anybody's got any questions for Melvyn, don't leave it till the end.
No, fire away. I'm tying this on a 10, but I'll probably fish it on a 12 most of the time. It'd be a lot easier for you to see. Right. So, brown thread. Oh, my sight's going. Yeah, we've got it. Might be fast around my finger, but we've got it. Right, okay. And again, come back a fair way from the eye. In we go. Please work on my local res. April time, we get quite a few large darks. Well, large lake olive, but they're very dark in colour. And this does very well then.
We've lost you.
Oh dear.
There we go.
There we go. Right, so tippets dyed hot orange. I would never use natural coloured tippets. I always like them hot orange. And that's on any fly. Okay. The length of the tail needs to be the length of the body plus the eye. So we're getting about at the back of that black bar. Now I'm just going to pinch and loop that on. And again, it's a soft loop. So I don't want the tail to splay massively. But that's about as far as I want it to splay. And then I'm coming in with my scissors and I'm cutting off those the excess. And then I'll just bind it down. Right, there's some fluorescence in this one. And this is Glow Bright yarn. Hot orange. Can't give you the number. I think it's 6 offhand, but now to avoid going back over that thread, you can jump it like that. And you're not getting too bulky at the head. And down we come. Yeah, what about there? Now the length of this little piece of fluorescent wants to be about half the length of the tail. Chop it off. I'm going to put some gold wire in this 0.02, this one. And back down again. And then sooty or dark olive. This is Semper seal, which is a seal's fur substitute. Seeing as how we can no longer import seal's fur anymore, and you can get into an awful lot of bother if you're caught importing it. And then up we come. A little bit more. David McPhail doesn't have this bother, does he? He seems to manage it in one. Okay. Red game cock. That's going getting palmered down the body. Two turns of the head. And then only 3 turns down the body. Then put the rib in. And worry the wire off. Snap that one off. Pull the dubbing out. Okay, now we need to put the wing on. The wing's bronze mallard, and I need to make a little platform for it to sit on. Because if it's too tapered, the wing won't sit in the right attitude. So we're using bronze mallard for that. Nicely marked. And we probably want about 20 mil. I'm just pulling the tips out so they're relatively level. And I'm cutting it off rather than pulling it off. But if you can manage to pull it off, you do that. Okay, so I've got my bronze mallard that I'm folding. I'm folding it in half. I have no feelings in my finger ends. I had carpal tunnel syndrome that I left too long before I went to do anything about it. And I've got nerve damage. So these manipulations like this are quite difficult for me. So anyway, that's my excuse. Yeah, that's how. Fold. Okay, we've got it. So that's one fold, and I'm making sure my tips are lined up again, and then I'm going to fold it again. Okay. So I've now got my wing. I put it on flat ways. I don't put it on like that. I put it on flat ways. And I'm just coming by that fluorescent bit. And I'm looking on top of my fly to make sure I get that wing exactly on top. And then I'm coming in, pinching it there. And I'm going to twist my thread anti-clockwise. So I'm going to run it down my nail in exactly the spot that I want it to go, which is right on top of that landing that I've made. And hopefully, having prayed to the wing god, that's a low wing. You see an awful lot of people that put wings on like that. That's because they don't make that little bit of a landing. I'm going to lift that a couple of turns underneath it. And then that lifts those ends that I'm now going to cut. And I can get a nice close cut with them. Okay, and I'm just going to come in front Bind those down. Good enough. And I'm now going to put the front hackle in. I don't know how you guys feel, but I always feel that a hackle that's tied in front rather than a beard fishes a lot better than the beard hackle. So a full hackle wound on front, for me, fishes better. But that's the good thing about fly dressing. You can do what you want, can't you?
Exactly.
Many a time you can't. You've got to. You've got to buy what's available. Or get a fly dresser to tie some for you. And this is ginger hen. Okay, I'll tie that off. Bring it all back for a nice, neat head on. The only problem with this 12-0 thread is it takes a lot of turns to build the head up, but great for a beginner. I quite like that one myself.
Nice that. What's that? That's a Castle Rush. What's he called again, Melvyn? Castle Rush.
Hackle Rush, dark olive.
Dark olive.
It's in Peter Riley's Flies of Ireland. That's where I first came across it. And like I say, for olives, lake olives, early on, great fly. Yeah, all April. Any questions?
I love the way they go all quiet.
They do, don't they? If it had been Lancastrians amongst them, they'd have been all moaning about it.
Excuse the clock. Melvyn, you said these are Irish flies. Will they still work over here on pools or whatever?
They do work. They work quite well. I'm just seeing if I can up my sound. That might be better. Somebody talk to me.
Hello? Oh,
Right, that's better. Right. Yes, they work very well, but nobody fishes them. You know, they're all fishing blobs and fabs and what have you. And there's no wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. You know, but I got to the stage really when I won a big competition angler. You know, I fished for England in 2002, and all I wanted to do was catch fish. You know, and when you get into situations like that and you're a member of a team, and what you get is pressure. You've got pressure to perform. It's a bit like working for a big company, isn't it? You know, it's always there and it's relentless, really. And I had quite a bad experience when I was in the team through the Martin Introna debacle, when he stated that he'd actually cheated to win this competition, and they threw him out of the England team. And and I actually got on as first reserve, and I was buggered about. Oh, you're in the team, so right, I've got a week off work, and then went 3 days before the competition. You know, oh, you're not going because Martin's back in the team, and he'd taken legal action against him. Anyway, got back in the team to the night before, giving him backward until he weren't going. And they rang me up and said, "You're on the team," and I said, "I ain't going to get any time off work now at such short notice." So there were all that going on. And anyway, I managed to get out after practice day, and they were falling out with one another, and they were fighting with the Welsh. There was a lot of infighting in the team, and folk weren't telling others where they were catching fish and all this sort of shite. And I thought, I ain't doing this anymore. So from then on, all the pressure came off me. I enjoyed my fishing more, and I fished what I wanted to fish. And you learn a lot about how to fish and what you're looking for. And at certain times of years, when you and flies that I know that work in olive hatches, and flies I know that work in buzzer hatches, and not just buzzers, you know, beetle drops. You know what I fish in a beetle drop? A black blob. A black blob.
A black blob.
Yeah, nothing finer than a black blob in a beetle drop. Yeah. Yeah, I put the foam beetles on and all that lot, black and peacock spiders and black spiders and what have you. They don't work. But yeah, and since then, you know, I do try to fish wet flies. I do fish nymphs with a booby on the point. So I'm semi-imitative, but more often than not, the fish take the booby. So yeah. So that's what I do. But they do work. They work exceptionally well later in the season and early in the season, where we've got dark skies and a bit of a wind. It always helps. And fishing a short line, it's just throwing it out. Just half a dozen pulls, lift the rod, work the bob fly out of the water, and just throw it out in one cast. That's all you need to do. And many a time I'm not doing that. I mean, if it's really windy and the fish are in top of the water, I'm just lifting and throwing my line out, just lifting the rod, out it comes, and don't even strip line back, just lift it back, work the bob flying, and it works. But people don't do that anymore. And it's a great shame, because on its day, it's better than fishing blobs. It'll work better than fishing blobs and what have you. Anyway, that's my bit of a rant over, and we'll do some more fly time now. Right, but that is a great fly. Cattle rushes, dark olive. There we go. Right. Shall we tie this deer hair emerger?
Yep.
That sounds good. And instead, Philippa Hake showed me this one, which I really liked. It's the way, instead of winding the fluorescent button. Have you had Philippa Hake?
No, she hasn't
No.
done one for us.
She won't do one.
We've had her up the partridge, Melvyn.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. I mean, she's great. If you can get Philippa to come and talk to you, or do a Zoom for you, she's great. She's not very far up from me. I mean, 20 minutes, I'm their house.
Yeah, yeah.
And for river flies, she's one hell of a tire. So I've just got a bit of deer hair. This is just ordinary road here. Nothing special about it. All I do, I don't bother combing it out. I just spread it and then lick my fingers and just pull all the fluff out. It just comes straight out. turn it round and do the same the other way. Spread it. I'll stick it in my stacker. Right. The one thing I didn't get out of the packet was the hook. Right, there we go.
Size 10?
Oh, no, that's size 14. Grub hooks always look bigger than what they are. Right, I'm going to put the wing in now. I'm using my brown thread. It's a Camasan B100, this. Yeah. I like Camasan hooks. Right, and all I'm doing, I'm not banging on the table. I'm banging on my knuckle. Okay, so quite strong bangs, and then just gradually come into a tap. And then I'm not getting any spring back. Okay, there's a long one there. I'll take him out. And that's because he's trapped between the two. So I've pulled that out the wrong way. Right, okay. The length of the wing, I'm not happy with it. Put that back there. The length of the wing wants to be from the back of the hook to the front. Okay, so that's about there. That'll do. Spinning my thread on anti-clockwise, get that loop, and actually pinching loops. 2 wraps in and then pull it down, keeping it tight. And I'm going to put a couple of wraps on. Okay, and that's sitting where I want it. Can you all hear me all right?
Yeah, perfect.
Right, put that over there. And all I do is put my finger on the back of those cut ends and come down. And it should trap them all in reasonably well. Okay. And what Philippa does, she'll get well, 3 or 4 strands of this Glow Bright. This is Glow Bright 11. And she creates a little tag tail. just like that. Okay, I'm going to set this wing up. Yeah, this is hairs here. We're going to put this dubbing on the wrong way around. On the hook the wrong way around, not on the thread. You'll notice I don't use any wax, because the thread is already waxed. And it's waxed for the fly tie, not waxed for the spooling. It was Paul Proctor that came up with the idea. And he designed it so you can put three turns of thread onto the hook. Way down there. Yeah, we are, aren't we? And then and it won't come off if you hang your bobbin from it. So that's the criteria they use when they're spooling it. Right, okay, so we're putting the rib in now.
Nice, easy way of tying it.
No hard and fast about that one, is there?
Yeah.
Great. Good for the olive feeders on the dries. And like I said, Carixia as well. Any questions about that one?
Yeah, very good.
No?
You got any preference for your deer hair?
Yeah. The stuff I shoot myself.
Yeah.
It cost me nothing.
What do you call that one again, Melvyn?
It's just Bob Wyatt's deer hair emerger. I mean, it's the simplest of flies, but by God, it catches some fish. I used to use it a lot on the river when I used to do quite a bit of river fishing. I still should really. Knees aren't what they were. Aye, that's 30 years of playing rugby, but proper rugby, not like that stuff they play down south. Right, okay, yeah, so yeah, lovely fly. I like that fly. Catch fish anywhere, that. Well, catch trout anyway. Catch a salmon, I don't think. But I've not tried it. Right, okay, what we got here? Oh, cock robin. I don't think any self-respecting Irishman will be out one of these. Right, back to the vise. Right. Again, we're using brown thread for this. And again, you want to start well away from the eye.
What size hook's that, Melvin?
This is a 12. Yeah. It's a B175 at Camasan again. I have great faith in Camasan hooks. I'm not a partridge hook fan. I know some people are. And some really good fly ties swear by partridge hooks, but I just can't get on with them. Right, what I've done here, I'm sorry, I should be talking to you. I've got a bronze mallard feathers and I've just taken the tip out because the further you get up the feather, the stiffer these fibres are here. So we want a nice flowy, flowable, soft feather in the front hackle, the wing, and you want really stiff in the tail. So I've taken the tail section out and I'm bringing these ends out, and we want, I don't know, about 4 millimeters worth of feather. I'll put that down there because I'll get another tail out of that one. Oops, sorry again. It's after so long shooting videos, it turns off, does this thing. So okay, so that's what we're using, and what I'm doing with it is I'm just giving them a twist, twisting them. And the length of the tail wants to be the length of the hook, so we're going to about there. I'm just pinching a little bit on top. Okay, it's okay, quite like that. And we can take off the excess, bring the thread down to the eye, put in the wire. Oh, we're getting short. Where there's a will, there's a way. Right. Right. As a robin has a red breast, this has got a red breast as well. But the bottom half is golden olive seal fur. What a wonderful colour that is, isn't it? Rich. And this is Semper Seal that I've blended 10% red into it. So it's got Semper Seal's golden olive with red. And they say 2/3 golden olive, 1/3 red. The bloody thing snapped on me.
It snapped off.
Hey,
Snapped off.
it did. Right, I'm going to do a cheat now. Just the mere wisp. There we go.
Nice rescue.
Yeah. See, when you want it to snap off, you can have great difficulty. Such is life. Right. This stuff. Semperfly ice dub. Absolutely wonderful stuff, this. I tie some sedgehog bodies in this stuff. It's really, really good stuff. And a loose dub. And I'm going to rag this down. Oh, lovely. That's fine, is that? That's okay. I haven't got a problem with that. Nice and scruffy. Right, now then, again, we've got to make that landing. So we're going to put a wing on. And I'm rubbing that as flat as I can get. So I don't really want that bump. You see, there's a little bit of a bump. Well, you'll see it on the side more. Yeah, bump there on the side. If that was on the top, it'd throw the wing right up. But as it is at this moment in time, that wing should sit like that. So, again, we want about 3/4 of an inch, 20 mil. Grab it and cut it off. Then fold it in half. Oh, that went easier. And then fold it in half again. And again, about halfway into the tail, making sure you've got your wing right on top. And one of the ways that I check that it's on top is I press it onto the eye, and it creates a little bump, a little mark, and I can see whether I'm half and half over the top of it. And then rolling it round. And I'm spinning my thread anti-clockwise because I want it to run down my thumbnail. Three turns, and I'm tightening, slowly tightening. Yeah. Underneath with a couple of turns, just lifting those cut ends, or the ends that I'm going to cut. I'll try to do it with my finer scissors. And then in, just neaten everything up. And this is a ginger badger. Sorry, ginger furnace. Or you could use ginger, and it's a hen, is this. I prefer all my front hackles to be hen. We'll get a lot more movement. I'm just working my way back to the front. Licking my fingers, pulling it all back this way. Just tying a nice, neat little head on. I can't see that little bit from where I am, but you can certainly see it, can't you? Will the fish see it? I'm going to wind it off. And I'm going to leave it as it is. Right. Because if I cover it up, cover into the eye. I'm not having that.
I use a little artist's 00 brush for that, Melvyn.
You see, the trouble is when you blow flies up to this size, it takes no prisoners, does it, the camera?
No.
I mean, that's a bloody needle point. Looks massive, doesn't it? Yeah. Anyway, there you go. And that is fancy cock robin.
Not very nice.
Okay. Now that caught me fish this year over in Ireland. If there's a bit of blue sky, a bit it doesn't do it any harm putting a bit of glint in.
Melvyn, if you fish that on Scottish Loch, what size hook would you use?
This one,
Yeah.
12s.
12.
Yeah.
And
I
those
don't.
are-
Oh, a lot of people say 14s. I tend to real upland lochs where the insects are fairly small. 12s and 14s.
Right.
For any big Scottish loch, 12s, 10s and 12s. Anything in a wave, 10. Yeah.
Okay.
The more you climb, smaller your flies need to be, really. But yeah, that it's an olive imitation fly. Yeah. Right. Okay. What else have we got? Oh yeah. Let's try this one. This is a mayfly dry fly. So is it reservoir stuff and rivers that you guys mostly fish?
For me, yeah,
I think we're all different, aren't we, really?
Right.
but it's a fair mixture.
Well, I'm sorry that it's more loch orientated than it is the rivers, but that's what I tend to fish these days. I mean, our rivers round here, we just fish. Well, I just used to fish spiders. It was my first line of attack, and then I discovered nymphing, and that, you know, I tend to keep on that unless the fish were really high in the water, and you saw a lot of fish rising, sipping down. But my go-to then was not dry fly; it was always spiders.
Spiders
Just
take a lot deeper.
upstream spiders, letting them drift back. You know, wonderful way to fish. Right. Okay. Brown thread again. This is like a sparkle gun. So I'm going to tie the wing in first.
That's size 12.
This is a size 10.
But,
And if you were fishing Loch Arrow, it'd be a size 10, a long shank, ×2. I've never seen mayfly as big as what they are on Loch Arrow. And the colour differentiation was quite incredible. It ranged from a very light olive to an intense golden olive. So not just one colour. So I've cut some deer hair off. And again, we'll twist it and pull it. Get rid of the rubbish. You know, we're talking about roe deer. I get quite a bit of roe deer. And on roe deer, there's hair on it for everything. Any type of fly that you'd want to tie, whether it be muddlers or, you know, very fine comparadun hair, you will find it somewhere on a roe deer. Okay. How long should the wing be?
length of the body.
Length of the hook. Okay. We'll spin it anti-clockwise. Going over my thumb. 1, 2, 3 turns. And then holding it very tightly, pull down slowly. Put another few turns on. And then you can start working it back. And make a tapered cut. Okay. Take a bit of this out. Lift the wing underneath it. Thread down. There we go. Right. Half a dozen cock haggle fibres. I'm just going to put a few tails in, keeping them short as well. That's okay. Now I'm going to put a shuck on. This is carpet yarn. And it's Chadwick's carpet yarn. Because Chadwick's was in Dewsbury, which is just down the road from us.
You say carpet yarn?
Yeah,
Is that like Antron?
it's exactly the same as Antron. Where do you think they get Antron from? Carpet yarn.
Carpet.
And then just work that down. So you've got a nice scruffy shuck. Neaten that up a bit more. That's fine.
Looks like there's a mix of colours in that shuck.
There is. Yeah, but basically it's a brownie colour. Light brown. And this is medium olive, Semper Seal. How are we doing for time? Are we okay?
Yeah, plenty of time.
Right. Make sure you get it right underneath. Because nothing looks worse than a gap in the middle. Straight fibre there. Okay. That's fine. That's a real scruffy looking thing, isn't it?
Looks as if it'll float all day long.
It will. When I'm out on the dries fishing mayfly time, the first line of attack would be wet flies, unless you saw a lot of splashy risers. And that's what I do. Once they start feeding on top, then I would go to that sort of a dry. But I'd look for feeding fish, and you don't use an outboard engine to get at them. You row around, and once you see one or two risers, and preferably it's same fish rising 2 or 3 times, you're in with a chance of getting them. So that's how I fish them. I don't fish them blind. If I aren't seen rising fish and splashy risers, I don't fish dries. The first line of attack would always be wet. But that might be nymphs in the future, but I hope not. I hope not. Okay, any questions on that one? Yeah, very, very good. And like I say, you can see the tail underneath it. And as it's hatching out of the shell, the tail's the last thing to come out. And that's just a little bit of a trigger. Yeah. But I've got no, and you don't want just to have one colour. And even the wings of the duns are the same colour as the bodies. All right, there's not 2 different colours. They're either pale, the range of olives, right up into golden olive. Yeah. So have a range of them and have a range of sizes as well. You know, sort of double long shank 10s and ordinary 10s. And in Patsy Dreary's book, he says 12s, but I've never really found a need for 12s. Although in north of Scotland, they definitely are a smaller type of mayfly. Okay, right, that's that one done. Right, we'll do the difficult one now. This will make me sweat. We'll tie the Loch Melvyn octopus variant.
What size hook is it, Melvyn?
It's a 10 again. It's a Stan Headley pattern. I don't know if anybody knows it. I've had a nice, I caught a huge trout on Loch Corrib in 2007. And the next day I had, sorry, the day before I had this probably about 4.5 pound trout on this fly. But I fished Loch Melvyn this time. Never fished it before. I managed to catch quite a few fish, which was nice. I'll put in the rib. That'll be better, yeah. Oh, we're gone again, haven't we?
Yep.
Back again. But it were nice to catch fish on the namesake. Melvyn on Loch Melvyn. We had an international last week, didn't we, on Loch Melvyn, and did very poorly. I think the Irish lads won it. I think we got the wooden spoon. Okay, right. Tail length. I always find with these fluorescent tails, I generally like to get the hook gape for the length of the tail. So about there. And if you feel the need, you can always brush it out, but I don't think it really needs it. By the time you finish the fly, it's all together. Right, okay. The body is golden olive. Again, this is semper seal with a bit of red in it. Stan Adley's designed some fantastic flies. He really has. I'm going up to Orkney end of July. Right, the body hackle, it's two colours. It's a golden olive and it's a medium olive. So I've tied this wrong, but never mind. I should have really tied these in over the front, but we can do that now. First, So I'm pulling out 20 millimeters. I'm doubling it over. And I'm taking a measure from the back of the tail to the front of the hook. I'm spinning my thread anti-clockwise. Like you do a dabbler, oh sorry, yeah, like you're doing a dabbler in reverse. Wrap it round. Hook. That's about right. Just tap it down with your finger like that, see how it's distributed around the hook. Not bad. Just nip off what we don't want. There we go. Bit more on your side. Always the darker colour first. The lighter colour goes behind it. Just nip off a few fibres so we can tie it in properly. I'm going to tie this over the front. That's good. And we can put a little bit more dubbing on. Done. Now, we wind the hackle on. Making sure that they're all facing the right way. On goes the rib. Just hold it there. Take these off. Scruffy up the dubbing. I'll break up the fibres with my dubbing brush. Pull everything back when we've got it right, and then wind the neat head on. Can't find my small scissors. Yes, I can. They're here.
Beautiful fly.
Pardon? Wife hides them from me. Right. There you go. That's a cross between an octopus and a gosling. Yeah. Because the goslings are tied with the mallard flank, and the octopus is tied with the golden pheasant rump.
Nice.
Going to be some movement in that.
Absolutely. It's what it's all about. Irish flies movement. Break the fibres up. They're very good at knitting back together mallard feathers. Yeah, that's it. Any questions on that one?
Where would you fish that top dropper?
Well, I've had more success. The consensus of opinion is that you fish it on the top dropper. I always fish it on point.
Do you? Oh, right.
Yeah, but I'm a knockered bugger.
Yeah, it's always unusual that you get a result on.
It's what my father says to me. My father's 19. He's a great guy. He says, "You know what it is with you?" I said, "What is it?" He said, "It's the Barnsley gene."
Yeah.
It's the Barnsley gene. Anyway, right. Time's ticking on. Right. With one more. Do you want me to tie it?
Yep.
You can tie as many as you like.
You're getting your money's worth. Create a bit of space here. I made a video of this one, and I'll put it on YouTube.
Stick it on the WhatsApp group as well, Melvyn.
Yeah, I can do that. But you're going to get one in any case, aren't you?
Yeah.
Melvyn, have you ever fished the Scottish Loch called Reefern, just north of Inverness?
No.
No, it's a shallow loch, about 10 feet, quite a big loch, but it is all surrounded by fertile agricultural ground. And it's probably the only one you can fish it with very small flies, 16s, 18s, and you get hellishly good results. All the rest of the lochs you can't do it, but that one,
Right.
very fertile land.
I'll tell you what I have fished up there, and it was at Tane.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's where the Glenmorangie distillery is. It's just a little lower, probably 2 or 3 miles lower down. It's called Loch Eye, and that's the same. It's agricultural land, very shallow loch, a lot of swans on it. It was, too many swans, and it's very high in nutrient. There was a lot of weed. I fished it one year, and we had some terrific fish. The average fish size would be 1.5 pounds, and the biggest that I caught were 4.
Wow.
And again, very small flies. I caught the big fella on a size 14 olive spider, one that I tied here the last time. I don't know if you can remember, but I tied a little olive spider, sparkly spider, and yeah, that I'm pretty sure it's a very, very similar loch, very fertile, lots of fish in it. Yeah,
Lots of
nice place to fish as well. Right, okay. Irishman's, Mallard and Claret. This is a size 10, but more often than not, I'd fish it on a 12. Tight with black thread.
Want to swap the cameras?
Yeah, that'd be a good idea, wouldn't it, Derek? I'm glad there's somebody that knows what they're doing.
I don't know if you could say that. I'm hopeless with technology.
Okay. Again, tippets. And really, these tippets here, can you see this? These here, too small. You want nice, decent size black tippet ends. Get rid of that. And you want half a dozen or so. I hate to see, you see a lot of these boats in flies from Kenya with great chunks of tippets put in at the tails. They look absolutely awful. The length of the tail wants to be the length of the body, plus I like it a little longer, plus the eye. So we're round about that black band. Nice soft turn. Thing about if you pull it, can you see how they start to flare?
Mm.
And if you pulled it, oops, sorry. If you pulled it on the bare hook shank, it done half flare. So we'll cut off the excess. Coming down. And the other thing, thread tension. If you have the tension too tight, it starts to throw everything around the hook. Yeah. If you have it nice and gentle, keeps everything on top. It took me 10 years to realise I didn't have to bend the hook to tie stuff in. Right. Claret seals fur. This is a medium claret. Have you had Rob Denson tie for you yet?
No, not yet.
Are you trying him?
I haven't got his contact number.
Right, okay. I can sort that out for you.
You have a word with him, will you?
Yeah,
Oh, magic. Perhaps you could have a word with Philippa as well.
yeah. You really are getting your money's worth, aren't you?
Nothing like being cheeky, Derek.
My old man used to say to me, if you don't ask, you don't get.
It'll be that Lancashire gene you've got in you.
Well, I can only say no, Derek.
I'm told that the Young is Scottish.
Who is?
Young. The surname Young.
It's a Scottish name, yeah.
Yeah.
Glasgow area. I used to have a foundry in Oldham, and I sold it to a fellow from Glasgow called Young.
Yeah.
What are you tying in there then?
Pardon?
What are you tying in there?
Oh, sorry. It's Claret cock-hackle.
Right, thank you.
Yeah. And this is gold wire, O2. I was going to tie with the Mirage, but there's no Mirage in the bloody packet, and it's downstairs again. So you've got gold. But gold is the original colour for the Irishman's Mallard and Claret. This was one of my, well, it was one time, it was my best brown trout fly, this. And again, scruff out that tail spur. I can't emphasize enough how important this is. Okay, so again, making a landing for that wing. And rub with your nail, make sure you get it flat there. That's it. And again, the bronze Mallard. I've not got enough on this feather. So I'm probably taking off 10 mils worth off one feather and 10 mils worth off another feather. Popping one on top of the other. Now, I don't know if you can see there, they're not very well aligned, are they? But you can alter that simply by moving them up until they are, and then just bringing the ends out again. So up, and down, and pull. You get them in line. Fold it over again. We now have our wing. About halfway into the tail, making sure it's right on top of the hook, which it is now. Fold it around the hook, nip it tight. Spin your bobbin anti-clockwise. This only works if you're a right-hand tire. You've no need to bother if you're a left-hand tire, it just falls that way. So I'm just going down my hook now. 3 turns and slowly pull it. Okay. Good stuff. Underneath.
That's a handy little tip, putting a couple of terms at the front.
Yeah, it's when you're tying a dabbler where it's cloaked all the way around. Well, I would say over 3/4 of the way around. That's the way to do it, because you make a right mullocks of it if you don't, trying to clip it all off. Well, I do. Okay, and the hackle is claret head. I think the original was actually red game. Just to make sure it didn't drop off. Right, and then double the hackle. Bring it all back. Nice neat head. Whip finish. Put a blubber varnish on. There we go. Irishman's Mallard and Claret. And for me, fish is better than the Mallard and Claret.
That shrouds it nicely, doesn't it?
Lovely.
So I've really enjoyed it tonight. I just love tying this type of fly. I wouldn't go to Ireland or Scotland without any of them. You know, they really are good flies to use. Yeah. Okay, that's it, chaps.
Perfect.
Thank you very much. Very nice.
Yeah, thank you very much, Melvyn. Yeah,
Okay.
very good.
Another splendid evening.
Would you, any questions? No, bloody hell.
Yeah,
When
they're
you-
all quiet again.
Melvyn,
No.
when you particularly if you were fishing Claret, would you fish bumble style flies?
Yeah, but I tied bumbles last time. Last time I did a show for you. Yeah. Claret bumble is another good fly. In the right conditions, it's no good fishing a claret bumble in bright sunshine. Claret's a good colour for overcast days, dark days, and good winds. Yeah, golden olive bumbles are great in an olive thatch, just tied as a wet fly. In fact, fish them on middle dropper. Yeah, with something like that, stimulate that deer mayfly with the wing. This fella.
Yeah.
that on the top dropper, and bumble in the middle, and the first fly I tied. That fella on the point. It fished that all day long. I'm not for one for changing flies either. It's like with experience, you know what works. So I'd rather change my line than change me flies. And I fished this time. Usually I fish with a floater or a sink tip. This time, when I was out with his fishing guide, he said he does very well on either a dive 3 or a fast intermediate. So I plumped for the fast intermediate, thinking it was sacrilege to fish a dive line on an Irish Loch. Oh, we're okay. My video's just turned itself off again. So yeah. But bumbles are great flies. Really are good flies. You can't recommend them enough. But I think this fella, the Irishman's Mallard and Claret, would outfish him at times. I would. I don't know if you noticed, but all my flies, apart from the dry flies, of course, all my flies are about movement and how they move in the water. Yeah. And I think that's the trigger. Usually, and I'm saying usually, when you cast your line out for wild brown trout, you will either catch them on the first 3 pulls, generally on the first pull. That's why it's very important when you've cast it out to be ready. As soon as those flies hit the water, you're ready to pull them back. Okay, so, and they either hit you on the first pull, or the first, second, or third pull, or when you're dabbling it back. Rarely when you're dabbling it back, but they do come when you're dabbling it back. So the first 3 pulls, and it's all about how it looks in the water and the movement. But you don't want them. You don't want them looking at your flies too closely. It's not about. It's how they move in the water, not necessarily how they look. For me. And there's plenty of movement there on that first pull that generally at it. Salmon are the same. Generally the first 3 pulls, and generally the first, they're all over you. But that's loch fishing, not river fishing. I mean proper fishing, not river fishing. Yeah, it's like the old boy says, there's pillocks and there's pillocks, and you're a right pillock.
He never said that to your face.
He did. Oh, me and my dad get on. You know, he's 90-year-old and he's just lovely. And I don't begrudge going up and see him one bit. I go up when I'm at home. I go up and see him every day. He's that type of fella, and I never begrudge going up and seeing him. Never. It's only a couple of years ago to me. He said to me, he says, "Hey, you know that stuff they used to put us in his tea when we were at army?" I said, "Bromide." He says, "Yeah." I said, "Aye." He said, "It's just beginning to work." That's the type of fella he is, you know. He's bloody A1. A1. I'll miss him when he's gone. Mind you, where he's going, I'll be going before he does. But hey ho. Anyway. So yeah, all about movement for me. More they move, the better. Yeah, nice pulsating movements. Get that seal spur ragged out. Let that, you know, you'll have noticed. Sorry, you'll have noticed that most of my hackles are long and straggly. It's there for a reason. You know, that movement. Yeah, trigger points in it. I like to see a bit of orange in my wet mayflies. Hence, you know, that sort of fella. But that didn't do as good as the one I fish on the point, which I've now lost. But anyway, it'll be on the floor. You know, if there's a hook on the wharf floor, the wife will stand on it.
What would be your sort of just standard leader set up, you know, in terms of length and,
18
Yeah.
foot,
yeah,
6, 6 and 6. Yeah. Come on in. It's all right, wife's just come home.
So you're
That's
going to
the
tread on
burglar
that
alarm.
hook.
So yeah, 6, 6 and 6. A 10-inch dropper. Don't want them too long because these are big flies and they do have a tendency to twist. I used 12.5 pound fluorocarbon. I know some of you might balk at that. And if it's difficult,
On the dropper.
Pardon?
On the dropper.
12.5 pound all the way through.
All right, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, fluorocarbon. Whether you need, I did a bit of on my local syndicate water last year. I did a bit of an experiment with ultra green, Maxima ultra green, and fluorocarbon, and what I found was quite unusual. I didn't expect this at all, but the point fly, I found no difference between the catch rate on the point fly with the fluorocarbon and the monofilament, but I didn't get many hits on the monofilament on the droppers. So it's as though, and this is not brown trout fishing, this is rainbow trout fishing. It may be different with the browns, but they definitely with the rainbows, they didn't seem to want to take the droppers. Yeah. So, but I've been a fan of fluorocarbon for a long time, and the gillies up in Scotland say it doesn't matter. These are wild fish.
Yeah.
They've never seen a leader. You know, they're not leader shy. I've had bollockings on more than one occasion for salmon. A gilly does not like you losing a salmon. They're hard enough to get, and if you lose it, and they can blame you for any reason,
Yeah.
they'll blame you and they'll have a go at you.
Do you not find that they twist when they're that long, the droppers?
When they're long,
When
yeah,
they're that
no
10
more than 10-inch. That's the reason. With these big bushy flies, they will twist.
Right.
Yeah, so that's why I use fluorocarbon. But the gills will always tell you, you know, Maxima.
Right.
Yeah, at least 8 pound. But I use 12 pound. It's probably thinner as well. 12 pound fluorocarbon's probably thinner than 8 pound Maxima. Yeah, but that's my findings.
Okay.
You know, there's not like trying yourself, is there?
No. Sure.
And I think that one of the reasons people say, oh, you must have a lot of patience to be a fisherman. I'm not very patient at all. If I'm not catching fish, there's a bloody reason why I'm not catching fish, and I want to find out why I'm not catching fish. Yeah, but it's generally not the flies. It's generally because I'm probably at the wrong depth.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my fishing.
Thanks for tonight, Melvyn.
Very good.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no
Thank you
worries.
for me in the clock.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Right. Good night, everybody.
Good night,
Bye,
Melvyn.
Good night, Derek. Night,
Thank you,
everyone.
Derek. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Night, everybody. Bye.